In a bustling corporate building, most people overlooked the janitorial staff, dismissing them as just part of the background. But Denise Atwater, a janitor at Halberg International, was no ordinary employee. One day, CEO Jonathan Kellerman heard her speaking Mandarin fluently with a client in the lobby, which immediately caught his attention. He had never paid much attention to Denise, assuming she was just another member of the cleaning team. But when he overheard her effortlessly switching between Mandarin, Spanish, and French, he realized he had been wrong about her all along. Curious, Kellerman invited Denise to his office and learned that she spoke 9 languages, including Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili, and Latin. Denise shared her story. She had been raised in a working-class family, and after her mother's illness and the passing of her father, struggled to support herself and her daughter. Despite life's challenges, Denise never stopped learning languages, borrowing textbooks and listening to recordings to keep her skills sharp. It was her passion for language and her commitment to staying sharp that kept her going. Kellerman, impressed by Denise's talent and resilience, offered her a position as the company's Cultural Liaison for International Affairs. This was a role that didn't require a college degree or corporate experience, but was built around Denise's unique skills. Her story of perseverance and determination led to a remarkable change in the company's culture, as Kellerman realized that true talent doesn't always come from traditional paths, but often from the most unexpected places. At Halberg International in Fort Worth, Texas, the janitorial staff was often invisible to most employees. They worked after hours, quietly mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and cleaning restrooms. Denise Atwater, a janitor, had worked at the company for over a decade, but like many others in her position, she was largely overlooked. Despite her years of service, she had never been acknowledged beyond her uniform and was rarely given more than a passing glance from her colleagues. Her job was simple and expected, with little opportunity for recognition or advancement. Yet Denise had a secret that no one at the company knew about. One morning, Jonathan Kellerman, the CEO of Halberg International, walked through the lobby on his way to his office when he overheard a conversation. At first, he thought it was one of his international sales reps, but as he listened closer, he realized it was Denise, the janitor, speaking in Mandarin. He was stunned. He had just walked by her hours earlier when she was quietly cleaning the floors, and now here she was, speaking Mandarin fluently with an older man who seemed both confused and relieved at the same time. Denise then switched seamlessly from Mandarin to Spanish and then to French, helping people as they entered the building. Kellerman, taken aback by what he was hearing, could hardly believe his ears. He had traveled the world, worked with global teams, and hired dozens of translators. Yet here in his own office building, a janitor was speaking multiple languages more fluently than many professionals. Intrigued, he approached her, and with a mix of curiosity and disbelief, asked if she really spoke 9 languages. She responded with humility and without a hint of arrogance, simply stating that she did. Her response wasn't boastful or prideful, just a simple fact. She spoke Mandarin, Spanish, French, Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili, and even Latin. Kellerman, realizing how much he had overlooked this hidden gem in his company, invited Denise to his office to talk. As they conversed, Denise shared her story. She had been born in Toledo, Ohio, and had earned a scholarship to Kent State University to study linguistics. But when her mother fell ill, she put her education on hold to care for her. Her father passed away shortly afterward, and her life changed dramatically. Denise had to take on multiple jobs to support herself and her young daughter. A custodial supervisor at Halberg offered her night shifts so she could pick her daughter up from school. It was at that point that she started working for the company, doing the janitorial work she had done for so long. Despite her challenges, Denise never stopped studying languages. She continued to teach herself, using textbooks and audio recordings. She would read newspapers in different languages to keep her skills sharp. Even though life had pulled her in many different directions, her language skills became her passion, a way for her to feel like she still mattered in a world that seemed determined to overlook her. Kellerman was stunned by Denise's story. He was moved by her determination to keep learning, even in the face of adversity. Her background wasn't what he had expected from someone working in a janitorial position. This was a person who had not only survived, but thrived under difficult circumstances. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that Denise's talents were being wasted. She was doing work that didn't reflect her abilities, and that needed to change. Without hesitation, Kellerman offered Denise a new role in the company as a cultural liaison for international affairs. He recognized her multilingual capabilities and cultural understanding as invaluable assets to the company, especially as Hallberg expanded its global operations. He didn't care about her lack of a formal education or corporate background. He cared about what she could do and what she had already proven in her years of service. Denise, though taken aback by the offer, wasn't sure she was qualified for the job. She had no corporate experience and didn't own a suit to wear to work. But Kellerman reassured her that her experience, her fluency in 9 languages, her cultural knowledge, and her lived experience was far more important than a degree or formal training. He promised to help her adjust, providing a clothing stipend and the support she needed to succeed in the new role. The following weeks brought significant changes to Denise's life. News of her promotion spread quickly, and while some colleagues were supportive, others were skeptical. Some whispered about her qualifications, questioning how someone who had been cleaning floors just weeks earlier could be placed in such a high-profile role. However, Denise didn't let the gossip bother her. She proved herself time and time again, managing international meetings with ease and forging stronger relationships with foreign clients than anyone had expected. Her fluency in several languages and understanding of different cultures helped the company navigate the complexities of international business more effectively than before. One of the pivotal moments in her new role came when Denise was asked to mediate a deal with Brazilian partners. Her quick thinking and ability to speak fluent Portuguese led to a successful negotiation, clearing up months of delays. Her role became indispensable to the company's success. Slowly but surely, the company began to realize that true talent doesn't always come with a prestigious title or a fancy degree. It can come from anywhere. Denise's promotion wasn't just a career change for her. It was a transformative moment for Hallberg International. It forced everyone in the company to rethink their assumptions about talent, qualifications, and the people they worked with. No longer could they overlook the quiet janitor who spoke 9 languages. She had shown them that brilliance can come in the most unexpected packages. In a bustling corporate office in downtown Fort Worth, Texas, a janitor named Denise Atwater worked quietly behind the scenes, unseen and largely unrecognized by most. She had spent over a decade cleaning floors and performing janitorial duties at Hallberg International, an established global company. Her work was essential, but like many in her role, Denise was often dismissed by the higher-ups and her colleagues. She moved through the hallways after hours, cleaning up the messes left by others, but there was far more to Denise than met the eye. Beneath her janitor's uniform, Denise was a brilliant linguist, fluent in 9 languages. One morning, as CEO Jonathan Kellerman walked through the lobby on his way to his office, he heard something unusual. A voice speaking Mandarin echoed across the lobby. He paused and looked around, wondering who could be speaking that fluently. To his shock, he saw Denise, the janitor, standing in front of a man, speaking to him in perfect Mandarin. She was effortlessly translating and helping him navigate the building. Jonathan's curiosity piqued, and he stood frozen, trying to comprehend what he had just witnessed. It was surreal to him that someone cleaning floors had such an incredible skill. But Denise didn't stop there. She switched languages fluidly, transitioning to Spanish, then French, and even offering help to a delivery man in Portuguese. Jonathan, surprised and moved by what he had just witnessed, approached Denise. He asked her if she really spoke 9 languages, and Denise answered calmly, confirming that she did. She listed the languages: Mandarin, Spanish, French, Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili, and Latin. To Jonathan, this was unbelievable. In his global business career, he had hired language experts and translators, but Denise's multilingual skills were far beyond what he had expected from a janitor. Intrigued, Jonathan invited Denise to his office. Denise, who had been quietly enduring her role for years, was taken aback by the sudden invitation. She had always felt invisible in the company, and the idea of being invited to the executive floor was something she had never anticipated. As they rode the elevator together, Denise shared her personal story with Jonathan. She told him about her humble beginnings in Toledo, Ohio, how she had earned a full scholarship to Kent State University to study linguistics, and how everything had changed when she came home to care for her ailing mother. Her father's passing shortly after left her to navigate life alone with a young daughter. Denise had to take on various jobs to support herself, including working in janitorial positions, and eventually she landed the night shift at Hallberg. Despite her challenges, Denise never stopped learning languages. She borrowed textbooks, listened to language recordings, and read foreign newspapers to keep her skills sharp. For Denise, languages were not just a hobby. They were a way to hold on to her sense of identity and self-worth in a world that had often overlooked her. As Jonathan listened to her story, he realized the depth of Denise's potential. Here was a woman who had spent years honing her skills and yet had been stuck in a position that didn't reflect her talents. He realized that his company had been blind to her abilities and the tremendous value she could bring. Without hesitation, he offered her a new position as a cultural liaison for international affairs, leveraging her multilingual expertise to strengthen the company's international relations. Denise was initially hesitant. She didn't feel qualified for such a role. She lacked formal corporate experience, and her job had always been cleaning. But Jonathan reassured her that her lived experiences, along with her fluency in 9 languages, made her more than capable. He promised to provide her with a clothing stipend and support in adjusting to the new role. In the weeks that followed, Denise's promotion sent shockwaves through the company. Whispers spread quickly. An employee who had been cleaning floors was now sitting in executive meetings, making important decisions, and managing international relations. While some colleagues celebrated her success, others were less enthusiastic. Some questioned the fairness of the promotion, wondering how someone without a degree or corporate experience could rise so quickly. But Denise was undeterred. She proved herself time and again, managing complex international meetings and solving issues with vendors that had been stalled for months. Her ability to speak multiple languages and her deep understanding of various cultures made her an invaluable asset to the company. One particularly pivotal moment came when Denise helped mediate a deal with the company's Brazilian partners. Her fluency in Portuguese and her understanding of cultural nuances allowed her to resolve a miscommunication that had delayed the deal for months. The successful negotiation not only saved the company money, but also solidified Denise's place as an integral part of the team. Despite the success, some people in the company continued to resent Denise's rapid rise. One senior board member, Eleanor Craig, questioned how someone with no formal education or corporate background could be trusted with such a critical role. But Denise remained calm and confident. She stood her ground, pointing to her results, and made it clear that her skills and experience spoke for themselves. She wasn't interested in titles or approval. She was focused on delivering results and making a real impact. Denise's journey wasn't just a personal victory. It was a reflection of how talent is often overlooked in the workplace, especially among those in non-traditional roles. Her story forced the company to confront its biases and rethink its approach to talent development. By the end of her first few months in the new position, Denise had already made significant contributions, and the company's culture had begun to shift. Jonathan Kellerman, once the CEO who had overlooked Denise, was now a staunch advocate for recognizing and promoting untapped talent within the company. Denise had never set out to change the system, but in doing her job and staying true to herself, she had done just that. Her story became a beacon of hope for others in the company, proving that talent comes in all forms, and sometimes the most brilliant people are the ones we least expect to find. Denise Atwater had always been quietly underestimated. For years, she worked as a janitor at Halberg International, performing the essential but often invisible tasks that kept the office running smoothly. Yet, beneath her uniform and humble role, Denise was an incredibly gifted woman, fluent in 9 languages, including Mandarin, Spanish, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. Despite her extraordinary talents, she had remained in the shadows, unseen by most of her colleagues, especially the executive team. It wasn't until one chance encounter that her true worth was revealed, and her life and her workplace would never be the same again. One ordinary morning, CEO Jonathan Kellerman walked through the lobby, absorbed in his own thoughts, when a voice caught his attention. It was Mandarin, spoken fluently and with ease. Startled, Jonathan looked around, expecting to see one of the international sales reps. But instead he saw Denise, the janitor, conversing with a visitor, explaining building logistics in Mandarin. To Jonathan's surprise, she switched effortlessly between languages, speaking Spanish to a delivery man, French to a vendor, and even Portuguese to a colleague. This was not the kind of person he expected to be handling multiple languages so flawlessly. The CEO was intrigued, but also humbled by the realization that someone working behind the scenes had far more to offer than he had ever imagined. Jonathan decided to approach her. He asked Denise if she truly spoke all those languages, and she confirmed that she did, without pride or boastfulness, simply as a statement of fact. Her calmness in admitting her skill set, coupled with the humility in her voice, made it clear that she had never been given the opportunity to use her gifts at work. This was a moment of revelation, one that would change both their lives. Curious, Jonathan invited Denise to his office, an invitation she had never received in her 13 years at the company. The idea of being seen as more than just a janitor was foreign to her. Yet she agreed to go. During their elevator ride, Denise shared her personal story. She explained how she'd been born into a working-class family in Toledo, Ohio, with parents who valued education above all else. She had earned a full scholarship to Kent State University, majored in linguistics, and was halfway through a master's degree when her mother fell ill. Her life had taken a sharp turn after both her parents passed away, and she found herself struggling to raise her daughter alone. With no support, she took on various jobs, including cleaning and custodial work at Halberg International, which offered her flexible hours. Denise continued to nurture her passion for languages, teaching herself new ones through books, recordings, and newspapers. It wasn't a hobby. It was something that kept her connected to herself, something that made her feel alive amidst the challenges she faced. Her dedication to learning and her resilience in the face of adversity were the qualities that Jonathan now recognized as exceptional. Jonathan was moved by Denise's story, but he also felt a deep sense of guilt. Here was someone who had worked diligently behind the scenes, honing a skill set far beyond what her role required. Yet she had never been given the recognition or opportunity she deserved. Jonathan realized that the company had failed to see the potential in Denise. He decided to change that. He offered her a new position within the company, a role that had never existed before. He wanted Denise to become the company's cultural liaison for international affairs. Her ability to speak multiple languages, coupled with her cultural understanding, would help bridge the gap between the company and its international clients. Denise was initially hesitant. She lacked formal corporate experience, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for such a significant change. But Jonathan assured her that her lived experience combined with her linguistic skills made her the best candidate for the job. The promotion was groundbreaking, not just because of Denise's unique qualifications, but because it challenged the very structure of the company. Denise's new position was a testament to the idea that talent doesn't always come from the top down. Sometimes it's found in the most unexpected places. However, not everyone at the company welcomed the change. Whispers spread quickly, with some employees questioning how someone without a degree or traditional experience could be entrusted with such a crucial role. But Denise proved them wrong, showing up every day with dedication and grace. She managed important international meetings and solved problems that had stumped the company for months. Denise's story became an inspiration within the company. She not only bridged linguistic and cultural gaps, but also transformed the workplace culture. She navigated complex business negotiations and turned setbacks into successes. Her quiet confidence, combined with her deep knowledge of different cultures, made her a powerful force in the company. But despite her success, some colleagues remained skeptical. One senior board member, Eleanor Craig, questioned Denise's qualifications, especially since she lacked a college degree. Denise calmly defended herself, emphasizing that her results spoke for themselves. She wasn't interested in being liked or validated by her colleagues. She simply wanted to do meaningful work. Denise's rise was a powerful reminder that talent can come from anywhere, and sometimes it's the people who are overlooked who bring the most to the table. Her story challenged the company's assumptions about merit, class, and education. It proved that success is not just about degrees or resumes, but about passion, resilience, and the willingness to break through barriers. Jonathan Kellerman, who had once overlooked Denise, now saw the incredible value she brought to the table. His actions had started a ripple effect within the company, changing not just one life, but the very way the company approached talent. It was no longer just about the visible and the obvious. It was about recognizing the hidden brilliance that often goes unnoticed. In the end, Denise's promotion wasn't just a victory for her. It was a victory for every employee who had ever been underestimated. It was proof that true talent is often invisible to the untrained eye, and that sometimes the people who make the biggest difference are the ones who've been working quietly behind the scenes all along. Denise Atwater had spent over a decade working as a janitor at Hallberg International, a prestigious company that prided itself on its commitment to diversity and inclusion. However, despite her fluency in 9 languages and a linguistic background, Denise had always been confined to the shadows of the building, performing tasks like mopping floors and cleaning offices. Nobody, not even the top executives, had noticed her incredible potential. That is until one pivotal day when CEO Jonathan Kellerman found himself completely captivated by her unexpected talent. The story begins like any ordinary day at Hallberg. The lobby buzzed with the usual office hustle, employees rushing to meetings, answering calls, and discussing important deals. Jonathan Kellerman was on his usual walk to the 18th floor executive suite when a voice caught his attention. It was Mandarin, spoken fluently and effortlessly. Startled, Jonathan looked around but could not find the source of the conversation until he saw her. Denise Atwater, the janitor. She was casually speaking with a confused visitor, explaining the building's logistics in perfect Mandarin. What was even more surprising was her seamless transition into Spanish as she helped another employee, and then French, all while managing her janitorial duties. Jonathan had been in the business world for years and had interacted with countless multilingual professionals, but none of them had this level of natural fluency. His curiosity piqued. He approached Denise, learning that she was fluent in not only Mandarin but also Spanish, French, Arabic, Italian, Portuguese, Swahili, and even Latin. This revelation left Jonathan stunned. Here was a woman, a janitor in his building, who possessed a level of linguistic mastery that would have been highly valued in any corporate setting. And yet, she had spent the majority of her career overlooked and underappreciated. After their brief interaction, Jonathan decided to invite Denise to his office, something no janitor had ever been invited to do. During their elevator ride, Denise explained her life story. She was born in Toledo, Ohio, to working-class parents. After earning a full scholarship to Kent State University, where she studied linguistics, her life took an unexpected turn. Her mother became ill, and soon after, her father passed away from a stroke. Denise had no choice but to return home to take care of her family. With no support from her partner, she took whatever jobs she could find, including cleaning work. Eventually, a custodial supervisor at Hallberg offered her a position with flexible hours, allowing her to support her daughter while still making ends meet. Despite her struggles, Denise continued to cultivate her love for languages. She taught herself new languages through books, recordings, and newspapers. For her, it wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline, something that kept her connected to her dreams and her identity in the face of hardship. Her journey was not one of complaints or bitterness, but one of quiet perseverance and dedication to personal growth. Yet she had never been given the opportunity to show the company her true capabilities, until Jonathan came along. Moved by Denise's story, Jonathan saw something in her that nobody else had noticed. He offered her a position that had never existed before: Cultural Liaison for International Affairs. Her role would leverage her linguistic talents and cultural understanding to bridge communication gaps between the company and its global partners. Although Denise hesitated at first, uncertain of her ability to step into such a high-level position, Jonathan assured her that she had the skills, and more importantly, the lived experience that made her the perfect fit for the role. Denise's promotion wasn't just groundbreaking because of her qualifications. It was a direct challenge to the traditional corporate hierarchy. The decision to offer her a leadership position, despite her lack of formal corporate experience, reflected Jonathan's growing understanding that talent doesn't always come from the top down, and that sometimes the best candidates are the ones who have been working hard behind the scenes. The promotion sent shockwaves through the company. Employees who had once overlooked Denise now found themselves questioning their assumptions. The whispers began to spread. How could someone without a degree or corporate experience rise to such a prominent role? Some colleagues questioned Jonathan's motives, suggesting he was just trying to appear progressive. But Denise proved them wrong. In her new role, she handled international negotiations with ease, solved complex problems, and became an indispensable part of the team. However, not everyone was pleased with the changes. One senior board member, Eleanor Craig, confronted Denise during a meeting, questioning her lack of formal qualifications and corporate training. Denise, however, stood her ground. She didn't need a degree or a title to prove her worth. Her results spoke for themselves. The tension between Denise and some of her colleagues continued to grow, but it didn't faze her. She was used to being underestimated. As Denise thrived in her new position, she realized that her promotion wasn't just a personal victory. It was a triumph for all the workers who had been overlooked. Her story challenged the company's assumptions about talent, class, and education. Denise became an inspiration to everyone around her, especially to those who had been quietly working in the background, dreaming of a chance to prove themselves. Denise's journey was a powerful reminder that brilliance is not always visible at first glance. Talent is often hidden in unexpected places, and sometimes it takes someone willing to look beyond the surface to recognize it. In the end, Denise's success wasn't just about her promotion. It was about shifting the culture of the company to one that values diversity, experience, and the power of listening. It was a message to everyone. Greatness doesn't come with a suit or a title. It comes from within. Sure. Here's the translation of the passage into English. The story is about Denise Atwater, a janitor at Halberg International, who, despite her role, possessed extraordinary linguistic talents that no one in the company noticed until CEO Jonathan Kellerman happened to discover them. This story is not only about overlooked talent, but also about opportunity, change, and the potential of often underestimated workers in society. Denise had been working at Halberg International for 13 years, handling cleaning duties at night. Though no one paid attention to her, Denise continued her work, devoted to her family, and never stopped learning. She spoke 9 languages: Mandarin, Spanish, French, Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili, and Latin. However, these languages were neither recognized nor utilized in her job. For many, Denise was just a janitor, a uniform and a job that wasn't highly regarded. The story begins when CEO Jonathan Kellerman walked past the lobby and overheard a voice speaking Mandarin, a language he hadn't heard since his last trip to the company's Shanghai office. His curiosity piqued. Kellerman turned to see Denise, a janitor he had seen around the building, effortlessly translating and helping an older man with the building's directions in Mandarin. Surprised, Kellerman moved closer, but then saw her switch seamlessly to Spanish with a delivery man, and then French with another vendor. Kellerman, intrigued, decided to approach her. He learned that she spoke 9 languages fluently, and Denise humbly mentioned that she had learned them on her own. Her dedication to languages wasn't just for fun. It was a way to feel empowered and connected to something greater, especially after personal tragedies in her life. Denise shared her difficult past, caring for her sick mother, losing both parents, and struggling to make ends meet with her child. Eventually, she took a custodial job at Halberg to make ends meet. Throughout all of this, Denise didn't stop learning languages. She borrowed textbooks, listened to recordings, and practiced reading newspapers in 5 different languages to stay sharp. After learning about Denise's background, Kellerman, moved by her story, offered her a position that didn't exist before: a cultural liaison for international affairs. The job would require her unique skill set, speaking multiple languages and understanding diverse cultures. He told her that he didn't care about her lack of formal education or certifications, because she had something far more valuable: lived experience, commitment, and fluency in 9 languages. At first, Denise hesitated, uncertain whether Kellerman's offer was genuine or just a charity gesture. But after some conversation, she agreed, accepting the new role. She was tasked with handling international communications, vendor issues, and cross-cultural meetings. Despite her success in these tasks, some people in the company were skeptical about her promotion. Several employees felt resentful, arguing that Denise's rise had been unfair compared to others who had been waiting for promotions for years. Despite facing resistance and doubt from others, Denise did not back down. She tackled her new role with excellence, solving problems, bridging communication gaps, and showing that her talents were invaluable to the company. She quickly became someone people sought for advice and guidance. In a notable moment, Denise was invited to speak at a logistics leadership summit where she shared her story. She was never just a janitor, she explained, but was fluent, capable, and ready. Yet no one had ever looked long enough to see it. This speech resonated deeply with the audience, especially when a young man approached her afterward, tearfully sharing that his mother was a housekeeper who spoke 5 languages, and he had once been embarrassed by that fact. As her story spread, Kellerman recognized her value even further and helped launch a new program within the company to recognize and nurture internal talent. The program, called Voice Inside, was designed to give workers across departments access to language training, leadership mentoring, and greater visibility in the company. Denise's story is a powerful reminder that talent and brilliance can be hidden in unexpected places, and that we should never judge someone based on their job title or appearance. It's also about recognizing that sometimes the greatest talents are overlooked simply because they don't fit into conventional boxes. The real question is not whether we are willing to give someone a chance, but whether we are willing to see the potential that lies beyond a resume. Doijai la Joan van Dai tu 500 700 tu, dua tren I tom tat, so 7. Denise Atwater, a janitor at Hallberg International, had spent 13 years quietly performing her duties, largely invisible to those around her. However, what no one knew was that Denise possessed a unique and extraordinary talent. She spoke 9 languages fluently. This incredible skill wasn't a mere hobby or a casual interest. She had learned these languages to maintain a sense of purpose and identity during a challenging life. Despite her multilingual abilities, Denise was often overlooked by her colleagues and superiors. She worked in the background, cleaning floors, emptying trash cans, and wiping down surfaces, never drawing attention to herself. Her work was quiet, efficient, and unnoticed, just like the many others who performed menial jobs within large corporations. But her story was different. Life had been tough on her. After losing both her parents and becoming a single mother, she had to take on various jobs to support her family. Despite her difficult circumstances, Denise never stopped learning. She taught herself new languages using borrowed textbooks, listening to recordings, and even reading newspapers in several different languages. One day, CEO Jonathan Kellerman of Hallberg International overheard Denise speaking fluent Mandarin, Spanish, and French while helping people in the lobby. He had never paid much attention to her before, but when he realized that the janitor who cleaned his office at night spoke 9 languages, he was stunned. This discovery ignited his curiosity, and he decided to take the opportunity to speak with her. As the conversation unfolded, Denise shared her story with Kellerman. She had grown up in Toledo, Ohio, and had to balance caring for her sick mother while also pursuing her studies. But when her parents passed away and she became a single mother, she took any job she could find, including working as a janitor, just to get by. Kellerman, moved by her story and impressed by her linguistic abilities, realized he had overlooked someone with incredible potential. He offered Denise a new role that hadn't existed before in the company, a cultural liaison for international affairs. This role would require her to leverage her language skills and cultural understanding to help the company build better relationships with clients, vendors, and partners worldwide. He told Denise that he didn't care about her lack of a formal education or certifications. What mattered was her lived experience, commitment, and the value she brought to the table through her multilingual abilities. At first, Denise was hesitant. She had never worked in an office environment, and she had doubts about whether she was truly qualified for the position. But Kellerman reassured her, emphasizing that the company needed people like her, people who could solve real problems and make meaningful connections with clients and colleagues across different cultures. After some thought, Denise agreed to take on the new role. It was a significant leap for her, but she was ready to face the challenge. As she stepped into her new position, Denise encountered some resistance from her colleagues. Some employees felt that she didn't belong in the executive circles, questioning her promotion and doubting on her qualifications. There were whispers about her background, and some even criticized Kellerman's decision to promote someone without a formal education. But Denise didn't let the negativity affect her. She focused on her work, navigating complex meetings with international clients and resolving issues with efficiency and expertise. Her multilingual abilities became invaluable to the company, and she quickly proved that she was more than capable of handling high-level tasks. Her success didn't go unnoticed. Soon, Denise was not only solving language barriers, but also gaining respect from people across the company. Her calm demeanor, expertise, and work ethic earned her the trust of both senior executives and clients. Denise became a trusted advisor and mentor, helping guide others through complex cross-cultural situations. She was no longer just a janitor. She had become a key player in the company's success. One day, as Denise sat in her new office reflecting on her journey, she received a handwritten note from one of her colleagues. The note read, "I used to think I'd be invisible forever, but today I stood a little taller because of you. Thank you." It was a reminder that her journey wasn't just about her own success. It was about inspiring others to recognize their own worth and potential, no matter their background. Through her hard work and perseverance, Denise had not only changed her life, but had also helped change the culture within her company. She had proven that brilliance isn't always apparent on the surface, and that talent isn't defined by your job title or your education. Her story became a powerful lesson to everyone at Halberg International. Never judge someone by what they do or where they come from, because you might be overlooking a talent that could change everything. Denise Atwater's story had already begun to ripple across Halberg International. From janitor to cultural liaison for international affairs, she had defied expectations, proven her worth, and reshaped the company's understanding of talent. But as with any significant change, not everyone embraced it. Her promotion was more than a personal victory. It was a cultural disruption, and with disruption came resistance. It started quietly. Some of Denise's new colleagues whispered behind closed doors. A few managers who had climbed the traditional corporate ladder with degrees and certifications questioned how someone without formal business education had landed such a prestigious role. The discomfort grew when Denise started outperforming them. She effortlessly handled international calls, corrected long-standing translation errors in key contracts, and salvaged a partnership with a Brazilian vendor the company had been struggling with for months. Her fluency in 9 languages wasn't just impressive, it was profitable. Yet for some, her competence wasn't enough. They couldn't look past the fact that just weeks earlier, she had been mopping their floors. But Denise didn't let it shake her. She had been underestimated her whole life, and this was nothing new. What mattered was the work, and she let her work speak for itself. Still, the tension reached a new level when she was called into a meeting with Eleanor Craig, a senior board member who had flown in from Dallas specifically to assess the situation. Eleanor was known for her sharp tongue, polished suits, and traditional views. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. Sitting across from Denise in a sterile conference room, she cut straight to the point. "You have no college degree, no formal management training, and 3 weeks ago, you were cleaning bathrooms," she said coldly. "Help me understand why you're now handling high-level international affairs." Denise didn't flinch. She calmly met Eleanor's stare and replied, "Because I speak the languages. I understand the cultures. I've already fixed 2 vendor contracts and closed a deal in Morocco that's been stalled for months. I'm not here because of how I started. I'm here because of what I've already done." Eleanor was momentarily taken aback. She wasn't expecting a response so measured, so confident. "You think this company should be run on instinct and charm?" she asked, her voice dripping with skepticism. "No, ma'am," Denise replied. "I think it should be run on results." That meeting didn't end with a handshake or a warm smile, but it did end with respect. Eleanor had no choice but to acknowledge that Denise wasn't a token or a corporate experiment. She was the real deal. The following day, word of that meeting spread across the company like wildfire, and something unexpected happened. More employees began to seek out Denise, not just for translations, but for advice. Interns asked for her feedback on presentations. Mid-level managers sought her perspective on cross-cultural communication. She became a quiet force in the company, not just an example of upward mobility, but a reminder of what untapped potential could look like. Kellerman, The CEO, who had first recognized her talent, wasn't surprised. He saw in Denise the embodiment of everything the company claimed to value: resilience, growth, and global thinking. He stood by her fully, and together they launched a new program called Voice Inside, an initiative to identify and support hidden talent within the company, particularly among overlooked departments like janitorial, maintenance, and support staff. Denise helped build the curriculum herself. She mentored employees who had once worked beside her on the night shift. She shared her story, not to brag, but to show others what was possible when someone finally believed in your potential. Her office became a quiet hub of energy and inspiration. On her desk sat 2 items: a small globe and her old janitor's badge. She kept it not out of sentimentality, but as a reminder of where she came from, of the strength it took to rise, and of those still waiting for their shot. Denise's journey didn't just challenge a company. It changed it. She proved that sometimes the most valuable leaders are the ones who spent years in silence, studying, sacrificing, and showing up. All they ever needed was a chance and someone willing to listen. And in doing so, Denise made sure she wouldn't be the last. Denise Atwater's rise from janitor to executive at Halberg International didn't just transform her life, it opened the eyes of an entire company. Her story reached its peak when she was invited to speak at a prestigious logistics leadership summit. Now, standing in front of a room full of executives and rising professionals, she didn't tell a fairy tale. She told the truth. With quiet strength, Denise looked out at the crowd and said, "I was never just a janitor. I was fluent. I was capable. I was ready. But nobody ever looked long enough to see it." Her words hung heavy in the room, cutting deeper than any motivational quote could. After her talk, a young man approached her, eyes glassy with emotion. "My mom's a housekeeper," he said. "She speaks 5 languages. I used to be embarrassed, but today I feel proud." That moment wasn't just personal. It was a shift, a reminder that people's worth isn't defined by uniforms or titles. It's defined by heart, resilience, and the brilliance they carry within. Life lesson: never assume someone's potential based on their position. Brilliance wears many faces. It can walk through the halls in a suit, or quietly push a mop after hours. The people we overlook are often the ones carrying the wisdom, strength, and talent that can change everything, if only we take the time to notice. What about you? Have you ever been overlooked or doubted, but knew deep down you were meant for more? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And if Denise's journey inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another story that reminds us all: greatness has no dress code.